Hello, and welcome to the next episode of WSBP TV. I'm Gwen Pacala, Director of the Women's Small Business Program. Today's show is Getting Serious, deciding if a business is right for you. And I'm honored to have our guest, Mary Johnson, with us today. Welcome, Mary.
Hello.
Mary Johnson, we're happy that you're here too, Mary. And now Mary is our Getting Serious instructor. Getting Serious is a 4-week introduction to self-employment. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like, what the class entails, and why you should take it if you're interested in starting a business. But first, let's talk to Mary and hear more about her experience. Mary is a former business advisor with the Vermont Women's Business Center. Mary also has been an instructor with the Women's Small Business Program in the 15-week comprehensive business planning course Startup. And Mary is a serial entrepreneur as well. So Mary, can you tell us a little bit about your kind of trajectory in entrepreneurship?
Well, I moved to Vermont. I was planning on skiing for a season back in 1979, and I couldn't figure out where everyone worked in Vermont. So I answered an ad in a little newspaper in Lamoille County, and it said seamstress. Well, I had done seamstress work all the way through college to earn money, probably my first business, actually. And so that became Prints and Patches. It became my first career in owning my own business. It was a quilt shop in Stowe, Vermont. So I was 21, so you're never too young to start your own business.
And now, Mary, you had gone to business school and that whole thing. What did that look like for you? And did it match up with what you ended up doing?
Well, it's interesting. I grew up in suburbia outside major cities in the East Coast, and I knew that I didn't want to work for a corporation, moved to Vermont, and really almost by accident ended up being a business owner because I started doing this seamstress work, and then I was offered partnership. So I ended up being in business partnership with a woman by the name of Isla Touchette that had actually started Prints and Patches. So and we'll get into the details, but when I have the privilege of teaching Getting Serious, every business idea is just amazing in of itself. And all of our journeys and how we end up in business is very unique, and we get to explore that together.
That's terrific, Mary. And I like that you touched on this, right? That your trajectory was not necessarily, I am going to school, I'm going to start a business, et cetera, et cetera. And when Mary and I had been talking before the show, she mentioned that someone had told her to cut her hair, and that, and she's got this beautiful hair, yeah. And she said that she knew she wasn't going to go into the same corporate world as the person who said that. Yeah. And so, how did you end up knowing that small business was right for you?
By doing it. When you're 21, we all don't know ourselves really well, and so I just said yes to the partnership. I had to borrow $10,000, which was an exorbitant amount of money to me. I mean, I owned nothing. I had my bicycle, my downhill skis, and my thumb. I won't tell you what we used that for. But anyways, and so I didn't think I would be able to, I didn't think I was lendable, so to speak, that a bank wouldn't touch me. Well, I was right. But it turned out that Vermont Job Start, which is an alternative program, it has different names now, actually ended up taking a risk on me for $5,000. So that's how I started Prints and Patches.
Isn't that terrific? And then you were in business for
28 years. It was my first career, yeah. And so it's hard to say whether, I think the business grew me up. And I sort of learned about business as I did it. I often say my PhD was on the ground, learning, running my own business, not in a classroom, which I prefer.
And yeah, right, exactly.
Not a classroom. I prefer the real thing. So.
And so you got into business because it kind of got into you. You
That's
stumbled
a perfect way
into
to
it.
say it. Yeah.
And and I know I started my business out of desperation.
Yes.
You know, I got out of school. Yeah, I got out of school,
good.
and I couldn't find a job, a meaningful job to me, and so I created one.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this misconception that all of us, you know, are born with this business idea and we're born entrepreneurs, and et cetera, et cetera. But we see a lot of different things, business ideas coming from these different arenas in our work with women in business. So let's talk about some statistics of women's businesses here. So as you can see, we have pulled up the Vermont Small Business Facts profile that's published through the Small Business Administration every couple of years, depending on the census. And if you look there at the chart under business owner demographics, you'll see that male-owned small businesses in the state of Vermont. There were 39 firms. There were they employed 87,000 people, and their gross receipts were over $15 million. Whereas women's owned businesses, there were 20,000 firms, and they were responsible for 13,000 employees, and those businesses contributed about $1 million in sales. So Mary, what do you think about that?
So I'd like to share just my unique view of that. I have worked for many years with women-owned businesses, and one of the things that I think is really important is that we celebrate that we do businesses differently as a gender group than our wonderful male counterparts. And I have come to believe that there's some very unique reasons why that's happening. I think that we are juggling the connection to the community is beautiful, and we really want to honor that. That will mean we need time to connect with family, take care of family, take care of aging parents. And so what I have observed over many years of working with women in business is the unique way that it's like, I often describe it as a trampoline where we're doing our businesses just fine in the middle, and the springs pull us, our children, our parents, the need for personal balance and health. And so we're not singly focused necessarily on employing as many people as we can, or bringing in $1 million plus. We're looking to take care of often our immediate needs, often our own. We're often celebrating and opening single businesses that self-employ just us, and we do that very successfully. And so we really want to honor that, even though the statistics are very different from the male-owned and the female-owned. And so when you come into Mercy Connections and the Women's Small Business Program and you're exploring your Getting Serious, we really talk about those differences and how to celebrate what we uniquely bring into the world of business as women entrepreneurs.
And so maybe what we can do is I'll show kind of a graph that we use in the Getting Serious class, which is designed to help us figure out, okay, where do these business ideas come from, who cares, and how do I put it into action? Right. So I'm going to draw a graph here. And this is kind of what we can also be moving into what actually happens in the class of Getting Serious. So we've got this filter, and business ideas come from all different places. They come from external things, right? That's kind of the, I see a gap in the market. I can't find women's clothing that is fair trade and USA made anywhere, so I'm going to start my own business. This is also where people kind of ask us to do things, right? So Mary had been asked to do sewing and seamstress work for forever. So that's kind of that in-between. Other people asking us to do things that sometimes we don't even think we're that good at. And then internal. And this is where it's our skills, it's our interests, it's our passions. And then, of course, there's kind of the wild card places. You woke up, it's a eureka moment. It's kind of like the pet rock stuff. And although we can't really count on that, it's pretty cool when that does happen.
It's literally wild card.
Yeah, exactly.
It just happens.
And so the point of the Getting Serious class is really to look at expanding what those ideas might be, helping you to come up with business ideas. A lot of people say, I want to start a business, but I have no idea what it would look like. let alone what the idea might be. And so we do a lot of expansive work, and we'll talk about that in a little while, Mary and I, about the tools that we can be using to come up with, it's called business ideation. And then the class, it's great to have all these ideas, but what are you going to do with them? And we start to reality filter them. And the way that we're reality filtering them is through first deciding, well, what do I need in my life, right? So do I need, how much is it going to cost me? How much do I need to be making? What are the things that I need to do every day that that really impact my career? So Mary did a great, told me earlier. Mary, can you tell the audience about what you found out was really important to you?
Yes. So I had the privilege of working with several career people just as I was finishing my business at the 28-year mark. And I went through this whole series of trying to figure out what my gifts were, internal gifts, what my external interests were. I had just come out of business. And one of the top 10 things for me to look for in any work I do is, you're going to be a little surprised at this, it's natural light. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to see outside and have natural light. So what we end up combining into our own businesses or a job if we're an employee is really unique to us. So that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Exactly, and I think that that's one of the things that ends up becoming very important through this process. We figure out those things that are actually important to us. And sometimes people find out, actually, I don't think I need to start a business. I think I need to revamp what's going on in my life. And so the point of the class is to come out with one of 3 outcomes. Yes, I want to start a business right now. Show me how to do it. Push me into startup, our 15-week comprehensive business planning course. Maybe. I've got a little more research to do. Right now might not be the time. And no, I know I need some kind of transition from my life, but I don't know what it would look like. And we go through all kinds of tools and decision-making frameworks and things, both individually and with our peers in the class, to figure out what that might look like. So Mary, a lot of women underestimate their potential as entrepreneurs. They say, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur. Yeah. So what's your experience with that? And what would you tell someone who says, you know, I have this business idea, but I'm not really an entrepreneur?
So part of what we explore in Getting Serious is, what is a business person? What's your perception of a business person? Do you align with what we might actually stereotype as a business person? And just in general, I find that women, I ended up a little bit by default into guiding and business advising women as a gender group. And what I found is we're actually not always confident. I also teach skiing to just women, and it's an area where we want to evaluate as a gender group before we jump into the risk. I was also sharing a little bit earlier with Gwen, the other thing I've noticed about us as a gender group is we're very connected to our community. Whatever our community is, for some of us it's children, aging parents, our friends, maybe the place that our spiritual expression, and we are very interested in balancing all of that while we run our businesses. So we come across like, well, I'm not really a business person because I don't do just business. Or we're not only motivated by money, we're motivated by balance of what's important to us. So we explore that in Getting Serious, and we honor that actually, because I think it's one of the beautiful things we bring into the business world is that sense of connectedness. We want to really honor that, keep that, and be awesome entrepreneurs at the same time.
That's beautiful, Mary. And so you kind of hit on one of the key elements also of the business ideation startup process that we build into the curriculum at WSBP, which is building that community. So how do you do that in the Getting Serious class?
Well, I actually call it the magic of the class because it's all about you. It's all about, as we sit there and we begin to share. By the way, a business idea is precious, it's personal. We've often kept it private for many, many years, and because we really don't think it's worth anyone else knowing about, and we're not even sure we're really going to go for it. So here you are in the Getting Serious class, and I really want you to come and explore it with us, because that's part of what happens in the class. It isn't that I'm standing up there, the expert, teaching you. It's that we begin to teach each other. That's the community connection. And how do we do that? We're going to go into some detail again. But one of the ways we do it is you actually brainstorm with each other about if I want to go in this direction, do you see any red flags? And the class gives you direct feedback. It is, I got to tell you, it's really magical. And it's because we begin to move towards each other in encouragement, and we encircle and honor each other's ideas. Even if you all never go for it, we honor it and really explore it together.
And so, Mary, maybe we can show the graph of one of the business brainstorming processes. Up on the screen here, we have kind of 4 quadrants, and one of the things that we do is each person gets 12 minutes of it all being about them, and the class is their creative team, and they come up with every single business idea they can possibly think of, and in the middle is that core business kind of concept. So it might be, I'm really into cats. And so in the center, it might say cats. And then from there, we figure out business ideas in different sectors of the economy. So thank you for drawing that up for us. And so that kind of gets into some of the tools that we look at. One of the things that we come out of the program with is an action plan. I think that everybody comes to the Women's Small Business Program because they're ready for some sort of life transformation. They're ready for it. There's that effervescence in their life that this is the time to be exploring. And there's that defining our own definition of success. What does it mean to us? And again, coming back to the graph here, that sometimes it's yes, absolutely, we want to start a business. Sometimes it's no, I need something different, but I don't know what it would be. And then sometimes it's maybe I need to do some more research, depending on what happens through this process, through the continual kind of inventorying of our skills, our interests, of what's happening in the economy, in our lives, and things like that. And so, Mary, I'd love to just kind of close with what insights have you learned from the students through this process, and why do you like teaching Getting Serious?
Wow. I love teaching. I'm going to speak directly to you at this point. I love teaching you, first of all, if you have chosen to take Getting Serious, or after seeing this, you would love to come and explore with us. It's a privilege to teach you, first of all. The other part is, because it's self-discovery and it's a safe place to come and explore your idea, what comes out of it is your self-confidence will rise. Even if you end up with the little funnel in the no, what you will then bring to either where you're working now or where you might want to work later, you will have already assessed this dream that's been floating through your brain called a business idea, and you have evaluated no. So I find that you go more confidently into what you're doing now, or you slightly tweak it. If you decide, yes, you're going to go for it, I'm certainly going to encourage you to go into startup. Startup, I've taught that for 4 years also, and that's a really in-depth 15-week course where you really do all the bits and pieces into a business plan, and there's lots of moving parts to it, and you come out with a reasonable piece of work that you've done that you can base going into business yes or no on. But it's not just swimming around in your head anymore. So teaching Getting Serious is the place that I want you to come and explore with us at the Women's Small Business Program, and really take it from the swimming in your brain for years to, okay, I'm going to really look at this and decide whether it's for me. Great.
great, Mary. Thank you. And so it can be helpful to take Getting Serious before startup so that you can decide on that business idea. A lot of us come in with a lot of different types of business ideas, and it helps to reality filter those ideas and make you decide on one to then pursue, so that you're not sinking a lot of time and money and effort into something that might not work for you.
Right.
And so in closing, Mary, thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor to have you working with us.
It's very, very wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And sharing your experience as an entrepreneur. And if you're interested in enrolling in Getting Serious, it runs 4 times per year. And the next session runs April 2nd through the 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. at Mercy Connections with Mary as your instructor and guide. And if you're interested in learning more, you can visit our website, wsbp.org. We'll look forward to seeing you. Thank you for joining us on Mercy Connections WSBP TV.